Friday, we lost perhaps the greatest anchorman in history, Walter Cronkite. He was beyond, for me as a kid growing up, every night, because that was what my mom watched, was him. And I have to say, he was the man. He was the man. And he did something every Christmas that I will never, ever forget. He would, before he ended the broadcast, he would talk about the fact that there was no fighting in Vietnam tonight. There was no fighting anywhere in the world tonight because it was Christmas Eve. Oh. And there's something about the way that he did it that made me believe that it's possible that we are all going to figure it out. I just always felt that with him
they called him the most trusted man in America.
I trusted him, but Barbara, you knew him very well.
I knew him, and we worked opposite each other. We competed. We were friends, but we competed for a few years. I was a good deal younger. He died at 92, but you'll never have that kind of one person that one believes in so much. He took us through the Vietnam War, and when he said that the Vietnam War was not going to be won, I think Kennedy said, oh. We talk about space flights, and the first time he saw it, his reaction was, you may have read it, oh boy. And when there was the space crash, he cried, and he cried at the Kennedy funeral.
Yes.
But although we have wonderful anchormen, and one of them is going to be on with us later in the show, Charlie Gibson, this was a period in time, and he was the one, that voice, that charm. I want to show you a clip, and then I want to say something about when he retired, because he retired much too soon, and there's a story there. But first, this has never been shown. I did an interview with Walter Cronkite a year after he left CBS. He was only 64. And we found this, and we've never shown it before, and it talks about how he wants to be remembered. So take a look. First time you'll see this. How do you want to be remembered in broadcasting history?
I'd like to be remembered as one who hewed to the line and the ethics of good journalism, who tried to keep broadcasting straight, tried to diminish to the lowest possible number the input of show business in broadcasting. I think that's what I'd like to be remembered as.
I'm sure you will be.
Yeah, but nobody will care.
Yes, they will. Oh, yes, they will. That was done.
That's true. Nobody will care.
No, but we care now. That was done in Martha's Vineyard, by the way, where Walter loved to sail every summer. That was his great delight. And he had his wife Betsy, whom you knew, died a few years ago, and was wonderful and funny. But I want to tell something that in the industry it's known, and that is, at one point, Rue Knowledge, who was then the president of ABC News, wanted Dan Rather. All of the networks were trying to get this one and that one. And CBS was afraid of losing Dan Rather, the younger one. And so even though Walter had talked about maybe he'd like to retire, they said, fine. And Dan Rather came in. And Walter, although he did other programs, he retired too soon, and he regretted it. I mean, he did specials and this and that, but they didn't use him. I probably am going to hear flack about this. They didn't use him in election coverage. They didn't use him in inauguration. And, he was a giant. And I think that he always regretted leaving too soon, and he continually complained about what had happened in news. You heard him say here, there was a two-show business. Now, to some degree, we've seen that same thing happen with Jay Leno and Conan O'Brien. And now Jay Leno is going to be on at 10 o'clock, and one will see. But again, it was this, we've got to keep the young ones, so we better let the other one go.
But even the young audiences, I listen to Walter Cronkite's voice, and there is such a trust there that I recall and remember and feel. And I think that the diligence that he had toward keeping that line that he mentioned when you interviewed him was something of such value. I mean, we're kind of in a more, we said Charlie's going to come on later to talk about oil prices and gas. Like, we're in a very self-serve type of news environment, I think, now, where you can kind of of pick and choose and have this couture version of news that he wanted.
It's very different. There were three networks then. We've got all the cable. We've got all the. World now, but I'm talking about the fact of his retiring too soon. And I think
he did.
I have a question to you. They called him the most trusted man in news. Do you think there could be, or is ever going to be, or was the most trusted woman in news?
Barbara Walters.
Well, no, I don't. No, thank you. But
You did a different thing, though.
Well, first of all, we had a tendency up until very recently to trust men more than women. It was the male doctor. I mean, now we're going very often to female gynecologists. You couldn't find a female gynecologist, maybe 25 years ago.
But we have a female anchor that we have, because Katie Couric caught a lot of flack. And I think part of it was because she's a female.
Well, and when I left NBC, where I had been very happy, and went to ABC as the first female co-anchor, I mean, it was the end of my career.
What was your first heavy story? The first heavy story where people listen, like, in a crisis, people say we want to hear someone's voice.
When I did the first joint interview with Anwar Sadat and Menachem Begin that had ever been done.
Were they smoking joints now?
That is why.
Exactly. But didn't they feel more comfortable being interviewed by you than a man? It didn't
It
matter.
had nothing to do with it. That's no.
So we're
it never mattered.
Obama had a lot of sexist behavior towards her from Harry Reasoner.
Well, I remember that.
My co-anchor.
I'm not even going to repeat.
But the interesting thing, getting back to Walter, is that now we're seeing the foolishness of retiring somebody at 65. We're now seeing that people are living longer, and so their worth to what they're doing is longer. And I mean, that wonderful, Sully.
The guy who landed the plane in the.
We are still in broadcasting, even on this program.
I understand, but you're here.
Well, I'm here, but...
Yeah, you're here.
And you're here, and we're all here. But my point is the advertisers still say, we are only interested in... I don't know whether you know this, you probably, but we're only interested in what people 18 to 49 purchase. Like when you're over 49, you're only going to buy one toothpaste, you're never going to change. So there still is that.
Well, it's very interesting.
We prove that you can be any age on this program.
Yes. But even, I know, like in entertainment, Angelina Jolie does the Laura Croft things, and now they're saying they want Megan Good to come in and be Laura Croft, younger. So
this is why I think comedians have it over everybody else, because it doesn't matter how old comedians get. If you stay funny, people will pay to see you. Henny Youngman was in his 90s. George Burns, 105 or something.
And what is the one who's always nasty? He was on our program.
Oh, Don Rickles. It's still going strong, So it depends on the job.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. And also, we lost a brilliant writer, also Frank McCourt, over the weekend. He wrote Angela's Ashes. He also was a teacher here in New York City for 30 years before he wrote that book. And the book is amazing. He was actually a quite astonishing man when you sat and talked to him, and he had that twinkle. So I just wanted to... Can
I just give one message, and you will all understand? Brian, feel better soon.
Yes.
We miss you.
Yes. Or else. We will be right back with more Hot Topics.